opportunity to acknowledge and welcome honorable members here at M46, 6 of them and 7 of them here, and members on the virtual platform. I want to welcome the public protector with us at M46, as well as a legal team led by both the evidence leaders, Advocates Bau and Advocate Mayosi, the members of the public who are joining us on their various platforms, members of the media, our entire support staff, and today also to have a special welcome witness who will be introduced later. Today we're going to continue with our inquiry and taking the next witness on our program and our list. And I can see that the witness is not on virtual with us, but he will find an opportunity to introduce himself in that regard. And for that, I want to go straight and invite Ms. Fatima Ibrahim to do preliminaries.
Thank you, Chair, and good morning to everybody. Good morning, Mr. Lamola.
Good morning.
I'm going to administer your oath.
Just if you can, because you're going to be here with us the whole day, so that mic belongs to you.
Oh.
So just try and own it.
Good morning, Tolera.
Thank you, Mr. Lamola. Mr. Lamola, invited, subject to the provisions of Section 16 of the Powers, Privileges and Immunities of Parliament and Provincial Legislatures Act of 2004, to appear before this committee as a witness and to answer questions in respect of inquiry into the removal of the Public Protector, Advocate Mkhwebane. Please be informed that by law you are required to answer fully and satisfactorily all the questions lawfully put to you, or to produce any document that you are required to produce in connection with the subject matter of the inquiry, notwithstanding the fact that the answer or the document could incriminate you or expose you to criminal or civil proceedings or damages. You are, however, protected in that the evidence given under oath or affirmation before a House or committee may not be used against you in any court or place outside of Parliament except in criminal proceedings concerning a charge of perjury or a charge relating to the evidence or documents required in these proceedings. Please be aware further that in terms of Section 17(2) of the Powers Act, a person lawfully furnishes a House or committee with information or makes a statement before it which is false or misleading, commits an offence and is liable to a fine or imprisonment for a period not exceeding 2 years. Mr. Lamola, you will now be required to take either an oath or affirm that the evidence you are about to give is truthful. Do you prefer to take the oath or the affirmation?
The oath.
The oath. May I please ask that you raise your right hand and repeat after me? I swear that the evidence I shall give.
I swear that the evidence I shall give
Shall be the truth.
shall be the truth,
The whole truth.
the whole truth,
And nothing but the truth.
and nothing but the truth.
So help me God.
So help him God.
Thank you, Mr. Lamola. Chair, the witness is now duly sworn in.
Thank you, Ms. Ibrahim. Welcome, Mr. Lamola. Thank you for joining us. I'm now going to take this opportunity and acknowledge and invite Advocate Mpofu to engage with you, and Advocate Mpofu to just indicate that you have the time between now and lunchtime if you have to go to lunchtime, but we'll be happy if you can do it before that.
Good morning, Chairperson. Yes, no, I'll certainly try to do that, Chairperson. Okay, so we can start. Yeah. Chairperson, are you okay?
we're having our second witness today, and I can see you upbeat. I hope that's what the witness makes you upbeat. But
It's the witness. It's only the
the
witness.
inquiry is
Yeah.
is going on.
No, it's only the witness.
We're in your hands, Advocate Mpofu.
Thank you. Okay, Honorable Taguda, are you okay? Okay, thank you. Good morning, Mr. Lamula. How are you
I'm good.
this morning? Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay.
Yes.
And get closer to the mic. We just have to hear everything you say, even when you say I'm okay.
Even when
I want to hear that.
I'm okay.
Right, Mr. Lamula, we are going to try and do your evidence tight. The reason why we are hopeful that we'll meet the chairperson's deadline is because your statement is not that long, but of course, some of the issues will need to be fleshed out. So with your assistance, or you made a point that we should indicate that you have a middle name, Ronius, Ronnious.
Correct.
So that you give all the information to the committee. Thanks. Now, you sorry, I didn't get an indication from the evidence leaders which sections they're not. Yeah. So, yes,
Put on your mic so that it's on record.
no, I was saying.
Chair, I just remarked that it was such a short affidavit that I didn't think it was.
Necessary. Yeah, no, that's fine.
I mean, you can lead him on his
I
credentials.
will, and if that's chair, yeah, I lead him on something that might be contentious, then Advocate Bauer will indicate. Okay, I think let's do it that way. Thank you. Right, I'm just going to lead you through the background, but before I do that, because of some experience that we have had, where I think there's a newfound enthusiasm for relevance, which we've been trying to talk about for months, but now it's. So I want to start by aligning your evidence to what it is that it is relevant to. You may not have seen the charge sheet yourself, but we call witnesses just to deal with anything that is on the charge sheet. It's not for you to read the charge sheet. Okay. Now, one of the issues in this inquiry is maybe Chair, let me do it like this. Let me first introduce the witness so that even that will make sense. You are currently employed at the Public Protector's Office, correct?
Correct.
And what is your position?
Provincial representative of the Western Cape.
Yeah, the provincial representative of the Western Cape.
Correct.
Okay, so that would be, if you've been following some of the witnesses here, that would be the same position that was held by Mr. Samuel in the Free State.
Correct.
Okay, good. And when did you join the Public Protector's Office?
2017 June.
And in what capacity?
Investigator.
Right. In which unit?
GGI.
GGI, which stands for?
Good governance
And integrity. Right. And you quite well qualified, if I may put it that way. Just go through some of your qualifications and you just confirm. You hold BUris, Bachelor of Law, degree from UNISA,
Correct.
which you completed in 2003.
Correct.
You also have an LLB, Bachelor of Laws, which you completed at UNISA in 2008.
Correct.
You also have a Master of Laws in Human Rights Law, completed 2017.
Correct.
And then you have another LLM in Property Law, completed in 2019.
Correct.
And currently you are studying for an LLD, so you're soon going to be called Dr. Lamola.
Correct.
Okay.
If I pass.
If you pass. Well, we're assuming that will happen. And you also have various post-matric qualifications, certificate forensic and investigative unit audits,
Correct.
and that one is relevant to your current job.
Correct.
Strategic management, well, that's also relevant to your job.
Correct.
Legislative drafting,
Correct.
migration policy,
Correct.
enforcement of socio-economic rights.
Correct.
And the one that caught my eye is a certificate, security officer grades E, D, and C, which is accredited by FIRA.
Correct.
What does that mean? Does that mean you were once a security guard?
Yes, I was a security guard for 8 years while studying.
While studying?
Yeah, my first qualification.
Wow. Okay, then maybe we should call you doctor even before you pass your LLD.
Yeah.
Thank you. So you come from what we may call humble beginnings.
Correct.
Thank you. Right. Now, I think I put this to Mr. Samuel as well. I know it's not a formal title, but is it fair, colloquially or generally, to say when you are holding the position that you hold now, effectively you are the public protector of the Western Cape? In other words, that's how you are viewed. You perform the functions of the public protector, but obviously not nationally, but within your province.
Correct.
Thanks. And that means, unlike when you are working for a particular unit at the head office, you are now the leader of the office here. You have to worry about HR and whether people come on time and also ceremonial appearances and that kind of thing.
Correct. It's the whole package.
Yes, thank you. Maybe briefly, you can just explain to the committee what the job of a provincial representative entails, apropos what I've just said of being, quote unquote, the provincial PP.
Yeah, the office have got core functions and administration functions. The core functions is our investigations, our stakeholder engagements where we do outreach.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm responsible for planning and approving those core functions. I do sign off reports as delegated by the public protector. I do engage in meetings with stakeholders, as well as I do the functions of the CFO because it's a full-fledged office. Mm. It's not only the Western Cape Town office. We've got also a regional office in George, mm-hmm. which reports to the Western to the Cape Town office. So I also exercise my powers over that office. Right. So all things that you find in an office in a province, I do them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Right. Then we get to your experience, and I'll just run through some of your previous work experience, but for the attention of members, I will highlight or I'll ask them to watch out as I go through your experience, particularly for your experience in the area of investigation, how wide it is. Okay.
Okay.
Right. So, and you'll tell me if there's more than what is obvious here, where there's specific investigation, rather reference to investigations. Where it started at Home Affairs in 2004 to 2013.
Correct.
And you held the following positions: Refugee Status Determination Officer, Immigration Services,
Correct.
Investigator, Control Immigration Officer, Central Law Enforcement and Special Investigations,
Correct.
Assistant Director, Counter Corruption, Security and Integrity Management.
Correct.
Okay, so that particular job related to governance.
Correct.
Okay, because that's also something we're going to talk about. Acting Deputy Director, Counter Corruption, Security, Integrity. So you got promoted in that particular space.
You
You were acting.
I was
You're
acting,
acting.
yeah.
Fair enough. Okay.
Yeah.
And then Deputy Director, Immigration Services, Acting Director, Immigration Services.
Correct.
Then you worked also at the Public Service Commission.
Yes.
And I think also would like the committee to take advantage of that by you as not just a comparative analysis, but in a way locating the Public Protector's Office within the broader public service.
Correct.
Because you've had that experience. All right. And at the PSC, you were the Deputy Director of Public Administration, Investigation and Audit. So
Correct.
again, it was an investigative capacity.
Correct.
Thanks. And then we know what you're doing at the Public Protector now. All right. Now, having, well, firstly, I must thank you upfront. Just to thank you for availing yourself. The chairperson will thank you at the end. But for our part, because we have found that it's difficult, or there's a lot of reluctance for people who are still at the Public Protector's Office to assist us. There's a big rush to testify before, but for obvious reasons. So we'd like to thank you for assisting the committee despite whatever risks that might entail. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay.
Just pause at Mkhwebane.
Maybe just to correct Advocate Mpofu, and I said that before, there was no big rush to assist us. There was, like Mr. Lamola, when we approached people, they were prepared to do their bit and come
Yes.
forward.
Thank you, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Advocate Mpofu.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. So I'll call it a relative rush, because the difference is that maybe Advocate to do a bit of persuasion, which I accept, but even our persuasion didn't work. So yeah, well, I'll learn. I'll learn from you. Next time I'll switch on the charm. Yeah. Thank you. Right. Oh, Chair, by the way, sorry, Advocate Matlape is not able to join us today. So for the record, yeah, she has not worked out.
Accepted, Advocate Mpofu.
Now, then we come to the point that I wanted to start on prematurely. What I wanted to say to you, Mr. Lamola, also indirectly addressing the members, is that one of the charges relates to, or at least some of your colleagues who came here, whether they were rushing to come here or not, have testified mainly around a charge that deals with victimization, intimidation, and harassment. Yeah, okay. Which I will unpack to you now, because those are the areas that I want you to assist us with. Now, okay, well, victimization can mean anything. I mean, somebody can lock up in a room for the whole day or for the whole week or whatever. So it means we must unpack what what was the brand of victimization that was testified about here. And I'll summarize it as follows. It deals mainly with 5 areas, which I will connect you in your evidence that are also contained in your statement. But as I say, just so that we don't have to go through that exercise again, I want to unpack them so that everyone knows which charge and what we're dealing with here. Okay, so the broad topic is it straddles between misconduct and incompetence. Okay, so there's a suggestion that the public protector is incompetent generally and with specific reference to what I'm going to talk to you about. You understand that?
Yes.
Yes. Now, as far as the misconduct elements would relate to this, but mostly would relate to specific things, Fred, CX, what have you. I'm not going to ask you about that, about the misconduct in a direct fashion, except insofar as it relates to so-called victimization and so on. You understand that distinction? Thank you. Okay. Now, the brand of harassment, intimidation, and victimization, so-called, that was testified about included the following issues, which I'm going to cover with you. One is the whole issue of deadlines, right?
Yeah.
So a witness would have come there and say, well, I was victimized, or rather, I felt victimized, or other people were victimized because there were unreasonable deadlines. Just making an example.
Okay.
The second issue, which is related to the first, obviously, would be around the whole issue of backlog, chasing backlog.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, people would say, look, we understand that the backlog has to be chased, but the line was crossed because whatever they said, but under that rubric of backlog.
Yeah.
Okay. The third one would be the issuing of Audi letters. So another person will say, well, I was fine, I don't mind about backlogs, but I was victimized because I got 100 Audi letters or whatever they say, but it would be under that topic, correct? Yeah. And the fourth one is around, shall we call it, leadership style.
Yeah.
So, for example, one witness came here and said the public protector wanted to be worshipped and to be called madam or bowed down to, so stuff like that.
Yeah.
So there's that brand of, let's call it, leadership style. Excuse me. And then the fifth one would be around, let's call it, inflexibility stroke insensitivity.
Yeah. So,
for example, there was allusions, to put it mildly, to one of you referred to in your statement, Mr. Madiba, who was, as we all know, a sickly person, and he actually passed away.
Yeah.
But so there was a suggestion that the public protector was harsh on him. I think it fell short of saying he passed away because of her.
Yeah.
Okay. And other examples. But those are the 5 brands, quote unquote, of harassment, intimidation, and victimization that we have been presented with. And I'm going to cover each one of those with you. Sometimes there might be overlaps, but that's the framework.
Okay.
Understood?
Okay.
Good. All right. Now, you say that I'm sorry, Chair. Yes. Okay. Just for good measure, let me just deal quickly with, I should have dealt with this when you were talking about your the scope of your work as a what do you call it? Provincial representative. Yeah. If you go to page 202 of the statement, there's an attachment there, just to give a taste of the kinds of things you get involved in. Yes. Very quickly, can you just scroll down to the pictures? Oh, that's even better. Mine is in black and white. Further down, just if possible, we can have both pictures. Okay, well, that's fine. It looks like we can only have one head. Further, I want both pictures, even if one is cut out. Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, that is, again, I mean, this is the kind of thing that would be done on a larger scale by the public protector herself, but it's the, it just shows what we're discussing. At a provincial level, you might have to do something like this, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. And this actually happened what day is it now? Thursday, on Monday, this Monday, correct?
Correct.
Yes. And on Monday, well, you can tell us yourself what was happening here briefly.
What you see from those photos is what we often refer to as
Okay, assist us so that I can.
what you see in those photos is that what normally referred to as proof of implementation of the remedial action of the public protector. I was not there on a holiday. I was there to oversee the implementation of the remedial action of the public protector's report that was issued in January, relating to failure to build a house for Ms. Bosman. Ms. Bosman is one of those Gogodla minis that we often refer to. Despite her application for a low-cost house has been approved in 2009. So, 2009, yes, it was approved in 2009, but between 2009 and 2020, there was nothing happening until her son approached the office of the public protector in George, our regional office in George, to complain. And through the intervention of the public protector, through the report and the remedial action, the house was built. So it was a painful thing to see where they were staying before this house was built. It was not something that should be allowed to go on uncorrected, because even the neighbors and the communities were of the view that should this Ms. Bosman in any way pass away, where do we hold the memorial? Because they're just staying in a delimited structure, extended with plastics and all this rudimentary stuff. So it's one of those things that a provincial rep on behalf of the public protector will do, and ensure that it's not only handing over with inspections of that house, whether it was properly built, and the explanation from the municipality is what is it that the occupant must take care of.
That's good.
Yeah.
Thank you. So as you say, it's not just a photo opportunity, but
No.
you also check if indeed the remedial action has been implemented
Yes.
to the T.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. And I raised this really because we had a witness yesterday, Mr. Nyatela, who I think pointed out something valid that some of us had not even recognized, the fact that, you know, we forget about this type of work of the public protector, and we're concerned about what he called the high flown cases that involve the high and mighty. But I think everyone knows that actually in terms of numbers, the tens of thousands of work that is done by the public protector is at this level, It's not the things that are on the front pages of the newspapers.
Correct.
All right. Now, do you know Mr. Nyatela?
Yeah, I know Mr. Nyatela is one of our regular complainants. It's a very resilient complainant. He can educate you if you someone not understand what you're supposed to be doing. Yeah, he's a very resilient complainant.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, he is definitely, he can educate those who are educatable. No, thank you. And I'm interested in that description. What do you think a person who's willing to learn can learn from a person like Mr. Nyatela?
You can learn a lot. Complainants are not like uneducated people. Some of them, they'll do research on your behalf and they give you everything. Of course, you have to verify that research. So you should not just dismiss complainants on the face of it. So it also goes with the attitude of the investigator. If you have got a positive attitude, you will learn and do wonders with when you collaborate with the complainant.
Yes.
But if you've got another attitude, you will always see problems from the complainants. It works wonders when you see the complainant in their eyes and you can understand the pain that they are feeling. Unlike when you don't see them, you are just working on documentation. But the moment you consult with the complainant one-on-one, you can feel the pain, you can see the pain in their eyes.
Yes.
Thank you.
No, thank you. No, indeed, I think the majority of the members here felt, at least they articulated it, that they felt the pain in Mr. Nyatela's voice and articulation. So although some people thought he was just making noise. But thank you for that. So you say in your statement that you haven't followed all the witnesses or every word that has been said, but you, at your level, you are aware of what we are busy with here, and you followed some of the proceedings, correct?
Correct.
Right. And that then brings us to paragraph 7 of your statement, which I'm quite sure I don't have to guess that it is contentious. So I'm going to ask you just specific questions now. You say there that you are of the firm view that some of the evidence that has been given here has grossly misrepresented the true situation at the public protector's office. You also say the nature and purpose of the relevant meetings and the intentions and objectives of the public protector have also been misrepresented. And you say that you disagree with some of the evidence given on these topics, and you'll therefore share your own experiences and observations in the hope that this will assist the committee in the performance of its task. So let's just start with that.
Correct.
Yes. Now, I'm not going to ask you now to define what you mean by how these topics have been misrepresented, but we'll deal with it when we deal with the actual topics. Okay. But I just wanted to confirm that's basically your departure point.
Yes.
Okay. And on the positive side, you say at paragraph 8 that you do agree with what all the employee witnesses have confirmed, namely that the public protector is a leader who is dedicated to her work.
Correct.
That she is highly driven.
Correct.
That she's hardworking.
Correct.
And that she leads by example and is highly focused on delivering services to all members of the public, especially the downtrodden.
Correct. The photo has already proven that.
Yes, as the photo attests.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we might be good with the photos, but it looks like we're not good with spelling. that downtrodden is supposed to be TH, not downtrodden, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Is it right? Oh, then, some of us are always right, even when we think we are wrong. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
I'll take Advocate Bauer's spelling lesson. All right. Now, what I really want to say, so that's how I'm going to follow your evidence, is to juxtapose between those two. Those areas where you agree with the other witnesses, which I don't think are contested much, but more focusing on those where you disagree with their approach,
Okay.
as it were. Okay.
Okay.
Now, as I explained to you, the real story about the charges that you are called upon to testify on, as well as what you might call the atmosphere of incompetence and all that, mainly deal with, as we said to some witness, nobody has said the public protector came there and beat people up, or she was drunk at work or whatever. It was all about the operations, how things are done, whether it's discipline or chasing deadlines and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that activity, so to speak, plays itself out mostly in the performance meetings,
Yeah.
of which there are various types and with all sorts of names. There's dashboard, there's full bench,
Yeah.
there's task team, there's think tank and all that. But all those are operational meetings to deal with performance, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And these various fancy names are just probably to distinguish the one meeting from the other, depending on this one is attended by so, this one is attended by
Yes.
so, but the mission is the same.
Yes.
Okay, right. Now, maybe then you can tell the members what, or we also know that the executive manager and units,
Yes.
and different units, I think there are 4 or 5 of them. Yours was GGI for your current job, correct?
Yes.
Can you then tell us what was the specific focus of GGI and the hierarchy up to the EM?
Yeah, in GGI, you have assistant investigators,
Mhm.
you've got investigators, you've got senior investigators, chief investigator, executive manager, who reports to the COO, then CEO and the like.
Okay. And CO and COO
Yeah.
report to the public protector.
Yes.
Good. And in your unit, who was the executive manager?
It was Mr. Stoffel at one point. Then later it was Ms. Bonam Haladi.
Bonam Haladi and
Yeah.
Stoffel, that would be Advocate Stoffel Fori.
Yes.
Okay.
Then at one point also Ms. Nelisiwe Nkabinde acted in that position. Yeah.
Okay. Good. Okay. No, then we don't have to define it further. Some of those people, and they gave us the landscape. Yeah. All right. Now, I want us to talk about, in that matrix that I gave you earlier, to talk about dashboard meetings.
Yeah.
In particular. About which you say that it was, in fact, I think you said something like when you got there, you were wondering why there was, or when there would be a meeting like that.
Yeah, correct.
And did I assume that owes to your previous experience of similar meetings in the various positions you've held? They might not have been called dashboard, but that type of meeting.
Yeah, in particular, the Public Service Commission.
Particular the Public Service Commission.
Yes.
Okay, what was the equivalent meeting at the Public Service Commission?
The PP's dashboard could be equivalent to CCC of the Public Service Commission, which was constituted by 5 commissioners.
5 of the PSC commissioners?
Yes. And the management of the PSC, your DG, DDGs, and chief directors, as well as investigators who were to present their matters in front of those 5 commissioners.
Yeah. So this was quite a serious meeting.
Very serious.
If it was a company, you would be having basically 5 board members.
Correct.
And the CEO and your immediate report and yourself.
Correct.
So would you say that would have been a rather intimidating type of meeting?
Yeah, it was intimidating and it was scary. On the same side, it was a learning curve where you go there, you build your confidence there because we are talking 5 commissioners coming from various backgrounds, and you present your case there. And at times, definitely, it's a subject matter of 2 or 3 commissioners. They can take you apart. Then you go and learn again. So it was scary on the other side. But as time goes on, we get used to what is it that is needed of you. And like I said, if you have got a positive attitude, you learn and you do better every day.
Good. And in fact, yes, that's fine. I was going to link that to something else, but let's do that now, because again, as we're asking you questions, we'll also get to know where you are and how you look at things. So the dashboard, the PP's dashboard would then have who would be, I don't know if this is the right terminology, who would be at the head table, so to speak.
At the PP's dashboard, it would be the public protector, the deputy public protector, the CEO, COO, and your executive managers, and us investigators who will be presenting those matters, including provincial representatives. Including PR. So it was a full-fledged setup.
Okay. Yeah. Covering the landscape, the full landscape.
Even in the Public Service Commission, you have got provincial directors who may be joining there because the matters are of national importance. They are not of provincial competence. They're of, So it was a mirror of one another there and there.
Okay. All right. Now, you had, and I'm just pausing on this, as I said, to introduce another element of your broad outlook and background and experience. You have given evidence that part of your experience, of your extensive experience, was gained in the Department of Home Affairs, correct?
Correct.
Now, both at Home Affairs and at PSC, you held positions to do with investigations similar to the ones you're holding now, or rather you were holding now at GGI.
Yeah, yeah, I will say so. Remember, the Public Service Commission is national and provincial departments, whereas in the Home Affairs, it was more of immigration, citizenship. It was more for an internal, all those laws that are administered by the Department of Home Affairs in collaboration with other state law agencies like your NPA, police, former scorpions, organized crime, syndicates.
Yes. Yes, but from the point of view of what is of interest to this committee, shall I say, an investigation is an investigation.
Correct.
Obviously, an investigation at the Public Prosecutor's Office is not going to be the same thing as one at Home Affairs.
Yeah.
But in terms of file handling, that kind of thing, an
It's the same,
investigation is an
yeah.
investigation.
Yes.
All right. Now, I'm doing this comparative analysis. You've told us about the comparative let's call it seniority of the representation in the meetings. But I'm talking now about something different, which is the volume. When you talk about volume of files, comparing the public protector to what you are used to at Home Affairs, which one is would be more voluminous?
Yeah, in Home Affairs, it's even now it's known that there's voluminous work. When the public protector joined, in fact, she just landed on top of her backlog.
Oh yes,
So,
that's
so it was very voluminous. We are talking thousands per office. So it was really enough for a year or 2 years or 3 years.
Yeah.
If you don't put strategies to deal with that, because most of them were backlogs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Good. And so we could say that comparatively speaking, I'm not saying that there's less work at the public protector's office, but comparatively speaking, it's chalk and cheese, the volumes that you're dealing with as let's say per person, correct?
Yeah, no, public protector is manageable.
Yeah.
It's breathable. You can breathe. Yeah.
Good. And yes, just to tie up something that you've mentioned, it is true, isn't it, that at some stage you and the public protector were working at Home Affairs around the same time?
Correct.
That's around 2008 or so.
Yeah, 2005 up to 2008, around that
Yes.
period. Yeah.
And in the space, to the extent that there was common space, that space dealt with backlogs.
Correct.
Dealt with the massive backlogs that you've referred to.
Correct.
Which are much, much more than the public protector as well.
Yeah, correct.
Okay, so that covers two topics. One, sorry.
I'm
Advocate
just
Bauer?
suggesting to Advocate Mpofu that the level of leading must maybe be managed.
Oh, okay, sorry. Okay, no, sorry. I didn't think that was contentious.
Okay.
Where did you know the public sector from? Or in which department did you first meet her?
Please switch on your mic.
She found me in the Department of Home Affairs. In fact, we welcomed her in the Department of Home Affairs.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what type of unit or work were you doing at the time?
I was a refugee status determination officer. I was in charge of identification as well as passports. We're talking face value documents, as well as dealing with application for refugee status. Yeah.
And can you just give the members a picture of, shall we call it, the intensity of that work, what it actually involves, both in terms of the nature of the work and in terms of the volumes?
It was voluminous because at that time people were just coming to the country in volume numbers, and they will apply for refugee status. Some will get rejected, they will appeal. So there was a continuous building of the backlog. But I was dealing with identification as well as travel documents, your passports. There's also a backlog on that because, mind you, you were not just given a passport. You were interviewed first for you to determine whether you qualify for that passport. And there will be people who qualify, but they don't have the required money to pay for that passport. So it was a lot of challenges. that backlog, when the public protector joined us, I think it took us all around 3 to 6 months to normalize it, not to finish, just to normalize it, the identification and travel document. I'm not talking about the refugee status applications that were scattered all over the country. I'm just talking about in head office. Just maybe I'm talking 10% of the work of the whole refugee directorate. So it was very voluminous work that we were facing. And while we are facing these challenges, there are also threats of litigation for failing to make a decision within a particular period. So you have to balance the interest of the department and those of the refugees. So it was more of a service delivery thing. Because at the end of the day, you need to deliver this service to these people. Yeah.
Thank you. I was saying that then deals with two topics. One, which we have already covered, which is your own experience in this backlog area, if you like.
Yeah.
But also the fact that the public protector herself was not a stranger when she got to the public protector's office, was not a stranger to this management of backlogs.
No. She has been there in the fight of backlogs. She has put initiatives in Home Affairs to deal with the backlogs. I remember there was even interventions that she opened. If those who are familiar with Pretoria, she opened the showground office just to deal with the backlog. And backlogs cannot be dealt with in terms of overtime only. You just need people who are dedicated, people who are service delivery driven, and you need a leadership who is there all the time when you need them. So that's how maybe she was able to deal with the backlog in Home Affairs. And when she enters the public protect, I don't think she was scared of the backlog, because what she has seen in Home Affairs, I think maybe when she first came there, she was like, is this how I'm going to work? I said, you're welcome. So our backlog is not that scary. Yeah.
Now, in terms of, because there's also complaint about working hours. In terms of working hours, how did you deal with that issue at Home Affairs, where you're saying that the backlogs were much more voluminous and intimidating and scary?
Yeah, of course, there were instances where there were some overtimes that were paid, but most of the time it was pure dedication. We will form up teams voluntarily to say we are going to push until Saturday. Of course, the public protector and her deputy were always there, and the assistant to give us guidance. So it's matters of the heart to say, at the end of the day, I want to be out of this backlog so that I can float. So it was not only overtime, we also put on our own to say we need to deal with this thing and finish it, because the management was also there. It was encouraging us to say, let's find ways to deal with this. Of course, there was an additional staff that was brought in to deal with the backlog. But even if you can bring the additional staff, and the additional staff lands in a negative environment, they will be affected by that negativity. So the additional staff that came, they found that we are positive, we are result driven. So that's how we managed to at least make it an impactful collaboration.
And yes, through that, what you've described, what kind of impact, effectiveness, dent did you make to that otherwise scary backlog at Home Affairs?
Yeah, it was very impactful. Like I said, the IDs and passport within 6 months, it was manageable. Then we were left with other refugee status determination outcomes. So it sort of allowed for other additional staff to focus on the other areas of backlog. so that we can deal with those areas that we see there are bottlenecks but it was an impactful exercise, considering that we were not really paid overtime. It was out of our own free will because management was there. Sometimes they'll buy us lunch on Saturdays. So it was impactful. I think it's one area that also made me to be resilient. When I see a backlog, I don't get really scared to say, where will I start? And I think even the public protector has the same attitude to say, but a backlog needs to be dealt with in that context.
And could you have made that impact on the backlog and serviced our people without making certain sacrifices yourselves as persons, I suppose also your families and that kind of thing?
No, like I said, self-sacrifice. Some came, they could not cope, they left. I remember there were some recruitments that were done from graduates, and some 3 or 4 months they could not cope, they left. I'm not saying I'm boastful that I remained there because I have to do something, because that is what the government wants to be done. We have to serve the people wholeheartedly. So having been there and having seen it and still continue to see it is not something that really I have to get worried about when I see a backlog.
Yeah.
So there was a very huge impact with the systems that were put in place when dealing with that backlog. And some of those systems could still be applicable even now. It's only that I've not lost touch with the department, but there were like permanent systems that were put on to deal with the backlog, on how to prevent it from happening.
Yeah. And let me just put it this way. Would you, at that stage, would you ever have dreamt that some of the people at the helm of that project of chasing deadlines, making you to do those sacrifices, whether it was the DG or people like that, could be impeached or dismissed for that effort?
No, not at all.
Right. Now, you've spoken about attitude. You say at your paragraph 12, personally, I was always looking forward to present my work at dashboard meetings. And that's at least the attitude we picked from some of the witnesses. They probably hoped the dashboard meeting should never come. So it looks like we had, as I put it to the witness, Mr. Jane, we had 2 camps, and I don't mean that in a negative way, 2 schools of thought in terms of attitude to service delivery at your office. Why did you look forward to the dashboard meetings?
Because the dashboard meetings are interactive. That's, you learn, you gain, you lose. And coming from the Public Service Commission, there was never a situation whereby a report will go out without going through the CCC. So when I joined the Public Protector, I was just told, I heard about think tank, quality assurance there and there, but I preferred to go there with my report, present it, get criticized, get peer reviewed by my colleagues, the same way it was happening in the Public Service Commission. So when it was not happening, it's like, is this real? How do you quality assure this document? One person cannot do this job. It has to be discussed so that there's collective agreement, there's collective liability there. Unlike if it is one person, it will be, no, it's the Public Protector. But if it is a collective one, mistakes are easily picked up because we don't come from the same universities. Some they speak nice English. Some they write nice. Some of us we just write. So when you get there, you are criticized. You learn. The intention is that dashboard you learn. Even the managers they learn, because it's not about ranks. It's about collective intellectuals meeting together and discussing matters. So I was looking forward to that.
Yes. Okay.
and as well as to share my experience from the Public Service Commission and from Department of Home Affairs, how we handled the issue.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you. Yes, you've just mentioned the issue of peer-to-peer learning. To what extent was that applicable to, I'm asking to you personally now, as part of what you would look forward to? Would it, in other words, would you only learn from your own presentations and your own mistakes, as you've said, or from presentations of other people?
Even from presentation or from other people, some are dealing with a procurement related matter, and this person is presenting before you. Then as you look into your own document, you can now see that, but there is something that I've missed. Then you learn from that. And when you present, you already have something up, say section whatever or paragraph whatever is going to be amended, because I picked something from investigators or and so that there's a new law or there's a new circular that has been issued. So you learn from your peers. It will be like your study groups or
yes,
your stock files.
Yeah.
So to say, because you discuss even before we go to the full bench, the way like people will share to say how do we deal with these matters.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Again, I suppose that's a question of attitude.
Yes. If you don't want, you may not learn. But if you want, you will learn, because you want to be an improved person, to render a quality document, to render a quality service delivery to the person affected.
Yes.
Yeah.
And also, what shall we call it? It's also an issue of attitude, in the sense that for you, it might be something you look forward to. And but for someone else, they might say, no, I don't mind if I'm criticized, but it must be in some private office, not in front of other people. And by that, this is what I want to ask you, because I know exactly what you mean. I've been in those types of meetings. Would you find that the ability to learn from other people's mistakes is enhanced in a bigger meeting where people present in front of others, or when you present privately?
You learn in an open forum. That's why we have got classrooms. That's why we have got lecture rooms. That's why even our constitution subscribe for transparency. But if you learn in a corner, it's between you, the two of you, and sometimes the two of you are blind, so just misleading one another. But in an open forum, there is nothing that cannot be attended to. Yeah. So those meetings, because they were open forums, transparent was also promoted in a sense.
And thank you. And in a way, the open forum, is it less or more prone to abuse? In other words, if someone wants to abuse you in a corner, whereas if there are other people, which one is more helpful for protection, let's say, of the people who are presenting?
Things that are done in corners or in the dark, there are no witnesses, and you are prone to be abused or to be taken advantage of. But in an open forum, there's always witnesses. There's always people's conscious to say, but I can't do this thing in front of people. So it's not so easy to abuse people in front of other people, yes, unless we don't have a heart. Then
yes. And in your experience in these meetings, at whatever level, did you ever experience any the public project in particular abusing, disrespecting anyone?
No, I have not experienced that. By the way, our meetings are recorded. So I believe that if there was any disrespectfulness or abuse, there should be evidence, because all our meetings were recorded.
Good.
But I've not seen or had that experience.
Thank you. Now, thank you. So, all right. And I was using the dashboard experience, as I say, to deal with broader issues. Now let's talk specifically about the issue of deadlines.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of evidence here, and I'd like you to assist us. Again, it's I don't know whether, yeah, I don't know yet. Let me say that, whether it's deliberate distortions or honest. Again, where people, people could be looking at the same car and they see different things, as it were. Yeah. So you can assist us, because the committee will need to make up its mind on this.
Yeah.
And I'll just pick out one issue. We have had, I didn't count them, let's say 4 or 5 witnesses,
Yeah.
who confirm what the public protector will say in her evidence, namely that actually people mostly, okay, let me not say mostly, let me not calibrate it,
Yeah.
but that people would sometimes fail to their own deadlines.
Yeah.
In other words, deadlines imposed by them.
Yeah.
And then there were another number of witnesses. And again, it's not a matter of counting.
Yeah.
We just want to know what is the truth there. We say no. In fact, one of them even said, this idea of self-imposed deadline is a myth.
Yeah.
I think that was, I can't remember, one of the last 2 witnesses. Yeah. So can you assist us on this? Was there a system that is based on deadlines imposed by yourself?
Yeah.
Or were the deadlines all coming from the top, gun next to the head, do or die, if you don't meet it, you bust?
Yeah.
Type of situation. Which one is the truth?
Look, this is how it works. My own experience. I don't know how other people have experienced it. Seldom the public protector will not impose her own deadline. Deadlines are suggested, are discussed, and agree to say, okay, I can do it. But when you receive a file as an investigator, that's what we call an investigation plan, in which you are going to put days, all the steps that you have to follow in that particular matter. And those steps have got dates. So you are just putting your own dates up to the end of the investigation. If it is a GGI matter, it will be from the date in which you receive for 24 months. If it is a service delivery matter, it will be those steps in the investigation for 12 months. With GGI complex, the same applies. So that investigation plan has to be signed by the chief investigator, agreeing to say, yes, these are our milestones. These are our deadlines per activity. So if you miss, or if you don't follow that investigation plan, then you go to dashboard. The first thing that you are asking dashboard is that, where are you in terms of your investigation plan? There is no way that the public protector or the CEO or whoever can just say, you have failed, this is the deadline. You are asked, where are you in terms of your investigation plan? If your investigation plan is in order, then you don't have anything to explain. You say, this is where I am, and you are off. Good. If your investigation plan is there, but you're not following it, then you are given an opportunity to say, now we see that you have failed to meet 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you rectify that? Then you can propose that for this item, I can do it in this date, for this one is in this date. Then if some of the dates are unrealistic, as I said, it's a suggestion. If some of them are unrealistic in terms of them being short or being longer, that's when they are revised to say, but this has to be done on this particular date. But at the end of the day, you agree to say, okay, I can do it.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you. And maybe this is very important. So I'm going to break it down into 2 levels. To see if I'm understanding you correctly. On the one hand, you're saying that there are, what shall we call them, organizational deadlines. There've been
Yes.
evidence here about that.
Yes,
So we know if the matter is this, it's 12 months. If it's that, it's 20
Yes.
months. If it's that, it's 36
Yes.
months.
Yes.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
right? And then you're saying now within that framework, there's this thing called investigation plan.
yes,
Okay, now let's talk about the investigation plan. So obviously you already come in with a predetermined deadline
yes,
depending on the type of the matter.
correct.
So that's clearly what I call an organizational framework.
Service standard.
Service standard,
yes.
yes. And is it correct, just for the sake of completion, that some of the deadlines, such as the EMEA one, actually comes from the statute?
Correct.
So again, it's predetermined for
Yes.
you. Yeah, correct. I think we all understand that by now. What I want now to deal with is what we'll call the second layer, the investigation plan now, because
Yeah.
that is based on a particular matter.
Yes.
No statute can prescribe the
Yeah.
in respect of a particular matter. Now, who is the author of the investigation plan? And I'm doing this apropos the topic I'm discussing with you now,
Yeah.
as to whether the deadlines are self-imposed or externally imposed. Who does that? There's a matter, we're investigating Honorable Tlakude for this and then the other and so on. Who does the investigation plan?
It's the investigator.
It's not imposed from outside.
No, it's the
You do it
investigator
yourself.
or the senior investigator. Yeah. The person who has been allocated that fund.
Good. And can we go to item 31.2.3? Of his file, sorry. 31.2.3. No, it's not a paragraph. It's something we posted. 31. Oh. Okay, that's fine. It's okay. Okay, it's all right. Okay, no, that's fine. All right, then, but anyway, when it comes, we'll refer to it. But for the sake of progress, I'll just ask you questions abstractly. Yeah. Now, does an investigation plan contain its own deadlines, so to speak, or timelines, whatever you call it?
Yes, because without those timelines, you can't measure your work.
Yeah.
So for every step that you take, there is a timeline. Like our investigation standard, if I'm allowed to explain, our investigation standards require us to say when you receive a file within a particular period, 5 days, you have to introduce yourself to the complainant. Investigation file to say between this date and this date, I'll have to introduce myself. Then from there to say within 10 days from receipt, you have to log issues with the complainant. Then you have to write a day to say when are you going to log issues with the complainant. By the way, there have to be evidence that we have contacted that complainant in terms of in the file, whether it's by email, you have to print that copy and put it in the file. And you have to update your investigation diary to say it's not only that I did this step just like that. So it's something that is regulated and there is evidence that you have done those steps.
Right.
And the critical thing is that you write those dates.
Yes. No, thank you very much. And when you go to dashboard, let's assume now I've done those things. I've put all 10 or 15 timelines in my own investigation plan. And now I go to dashboard.
Yeah.
What happens?
If you go to dashboard, maybe it is just a reporting exercise to say where I am. This is how far I am. And if you follow your investigation plan, there's no disputes, there's no discussion. It's a matter of goodbye, then you go. But if you have not, then that's where there'll be much explaining now. Then the whole management will be irritated to say, how did you meet deadlines? Or sometimes you find that there is an investigation plan. I'm talking through experience, myself also being part of it. There is an investigation plan, but you did not follow it. So when you get to dashboard, you will be asked, where are you in terms of your investigation plan? Then you are not near. You start mumbling and stammering there. Then of course, management won't take it light. Yeah. So it's one of those things.
Yes. Okay. Well, you talk about your personal experience. Have you also got out now and again if you didn't follow your investigation plan, or are you always perfect?
Yeah, no, I was caught out. Yeah. I was caught out on occasions. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. Okay. Now, all right, then that's clear. Now, let's forget about that. It's clear that those timelines in the investigation are self-imposed.
Yeah.
Let's now look at a different scenario. Now you've missed your deadline, or you've been caught out, as you say. And then how are the new timelines? Because obviously we can't stick to the investigation plan. If you've missed it, you've missed it. How are the necessary adjustments made so that there's a new series of plans?
From my own experience, if I see that I'm going to miss the deadlines, I'll engage the supervisor. Sometimes we'll prepare a memo to the public protector as the head of the dashboard to say, steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are not going to be complied with. We're asking for an extension, because remember, if it is a 12 months and you have missed certain steps, now it's going to go 26, 27. So we will prepare a memo to that effect. Sometimes one occasion I did not do anything. Then upfront, when I was given an opportunity to present my case, I pleaded to say, I have not done what should have been done. I don't have to explain too much. I have not done it. What was expected of me, I have not done it. I have not followed my own investigation plan. In fact, when my investigation plan was looked into, it was found to be, it was malicious compliance. It was just copying and pasting. So now you have to go back and redo the actual investigation plan. In certain instances, if the investigation plan is okay, then you have missed steps, then it can be amended to that effect. So it was not like it's cast on stone or whatever, but the amendment, it is the investigator who will make those inputs to say, for this step that has been missed, this is what I'm going to do on this particular date. So it was not management that was imposing those dates.
Okay, let me also just interrupt myself with something else which I discussed with Ms. Mkhwebane, I think, which is that particularly at her level, at the level of the EMs, which is quite senior. She confirmed, and I'm sure I will too, that in between what we may call the public protector's dashboard meeting, there would be a departmental dashboard meeting or a unit dashboard meeting led by the EM.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yes. And now, so there's no monster, the public protector here to do all the scary things we were told about.
Yeah.
At the pre-dashboard, so to speak, which happens at the departmental level.
Yeah.
What happens, or what is supposed to happen?
Yeah, maybe I just have to small background. When this issue of dashboard started, we as investigators were not part of it. It was only the EMs who were part of the dashboard. And I can recall they will give us feedback from the public protector. It was the public protector is not happy. We are falling behind. And I think it's also minuted that I requested investigators to be part of this backlog so that we can hear even one or two of us just to observe, to hear this fire that is being spitted by the public protector so that our peers can tell us to say, hi, So we were told that we can't be part of that until to a point when the dashboard was open to everyone. So that is the background. So every unit have got its own dashboard, which feeds into the main dashboard of the public protector. So if you have missed things in your own unit, it's expected that it should also be reflected in the public protector's dashboard. So every unit has its own dashboard. In Western Cape, it's a unit on its own. I have my own dashboard, which feeds to the coastal dashboard, which feeds to the public protector's dashboard. So there is no way that there was only the public protector's dashboard. So it was a bottom-up approach, sort of. It was not a down one. So even those dates, they are coming from the bottom going up.
Very good. In other words, then, if you want to avoid problems, I'm putting it in everyday language. Would you be able, in other words, you can weed out some of the problems in your own dashboard before you go to the big one?
Correct. Yeah, because it is the same caseload. The public protector will be looking into to say, on this particular date, this is what we resolved. What has happened today? Because it was not something that was happening every day. It was maybe monthly or fortnightly. So whatever resolution was taken from the public protector's dashboard, it is informed by what we have committed to do.
Good. Thank you. I think that's clear enough. Now, I think you've covered the next topic, which was about you somewhere in your statement you talk about this idea of it being problematic, or shall we say, of flashlighting or forewarning if it looks like you're going to meet your deadline. Now, so let's assume some people would follow your route, and then others would reveal the problems at the dashboard meeting itself. Which of those two do you think is preferable for the sake of progress?
Conscientizing management that we have not achieved, or we are encountering stumbling blocks you may not achieve before time is better than just getting there and surprise, because there will be expectations that maybe we're signing off this thing end of week, then you are saying, I have not done it. Surely a reasonable manager or reasonable leader will get irritated. Some will get angry, but I've seen the public protector getting irritated, not really angry, because you are just coming now and telling me that I have not done it. What are the stumbling blocks? Because if there is anything that is stumbling, you should have informed the public protector. I remember there was even a time when she was encouraging us to say, even an email, just send me an email and say, I'm encountering problems in terms of this deliverable. I'm missing deadline, so that I'm in a better position to know, unlike you just come as if everything is okay. Now you are telling me that you have not achieved. So communication is better. Prior communication is better. They say preemptive strike is the best defense, unlike when you are attacked, you start want to defend yourself. So doing that preemptive communication is far much better. You can get some leniency, you can get away with it because it shows reasonability and being a forward-looking person.
Right. And you say at paragraph 19, you say, my experience working with the public protector that she was indeed very rigid when it comes to work done and meeting the deadlines. It is, however, not true that she was inflexible, even in the face of good reasons being given for not meeting the deadlines. Can you expand a little bit on that?
Yeah, with no deadlines, then we can continue working until hallelujah. So with service delivery issues, you can't just work without deadlines. Like I said, in Home Affairs, you have people who are waiting for passports, they want to travel, some for medical reasons. And if you don't put deadlines, then those people will wait until. So she's one person when there are deadlines, they need to be respected. In particular, when you do your own deadlines, if you miss your own deadlines, then it assists you to have a deadline, then you miss it again, then really it irritates because you need to have closure on that particular issue. You need to deliver on that particular issue. But it doesn't mean that she was cast on looking the date only. She was amenable to flexibility. Of course, you have to motivate, you have to pre-communicate. Like I said before, to say you can't get there and want to ask for an extension on something that you have been lying on your table for the past 2 weeks, 3 weeks. So she was amenable for what I can put, for twisting her arm there based on the circumstances and the reasons that you advance. Sometimes you advance very powerful reasons, then she does not agree. And in fact, she will say, go to this one and this one, they will assist you to finalize this matter. So we need it by this particular day. I remember I also fallen into that a painful exercise. I was about to close a matter. Then I was told, no, you can't close it. Go back, Zibane and Zibane assist in finalizing this matter, because it was one of those matters where another institution is investigating. Then I said, SIU is investigating, we are closing. But that is not what I was informed to do. It's not even in my investigation diary. So, yeah.
Good. And yes, I think that's very helpful. And it takes us to another important topic, which I want us to canvass just for 2 or 3 questions. One of the theories advanced here by some of the witnesses that I'm referring to is this notion that the public protector was so obsessed, to put it mildly, with these inflexible deadlines. And you've explained that the deadlines were not that inflexible, but just work with me here. So obsessed that invariably there would be sacrifices of quality and sacrifices on governance.
Yeah.
Now, anybody knows who's ever dealt with a balanced scorecard that when you have your key performance indicators, that's why it's called a balanced scorecard. You can't just chase one target, because invariably something else is going to suffer. Now, that's the picture that has been painted here to this committee, that it was, deadline is on the 23rd of March, do or die, I don't care or anything else. Was that your experience in respect of these 3 criteria, the deadline, quality, and governance issues?
No, that was not what it was. That's why we were sent back. If you produce a shoddy work, you were sent back. Otherwise, she was just going to sign them off if there was no emphasis on quality. Because one thing that we often forget is that when you are faced with a backlog and you push numbers, you are creating another backlog. With us as public protector, you will be creating 2 backlogs, in internal review backlog, as well as possible litigation backlog. And people can even come and throw stones at offices, because that is not what they expected. You just sign it off. So if it was if there were no deadlines, then everyone will achieve. So it was just 2-page thing, then sign it off. But because there was much emphasis on quality, Because at the end of the day, we need people to get the proper services. If we dismiss a matter, it should be dismissed on quality merits. So it was not pushing numbers. We still have a backlog even now. If we were pushing numbers, it could be finished by now. But because it's more emphasis on quality, we have learned from the court cases that we have lost that much has to be on quality. And you can't compromise quality. She knows that even in Home Affairs, you compromise quality in terms of refugee status or documentation. We are creating a backlog at the Standing Committee on Refugees or Appeals Board. So it will be a cycle. So, but once you emphasize on quality, you know you deal with this one is off and it's dead. So there was no, well, it's their experience. From my experiences, I don't know how many times that my matter has been sent back to say, fix this, fix that, fix that. And not only me, even our colleagues, because it was more emphasis on quality. That's why we still have backlogs even now, matters of 2019, 2018, because we emphasize on quality.
Good.
Yeah.
And
Maybe at that point, Advocate Mpofu.
Chair, can you just allow me one more, just so that I round up.
Uzayilibala.
And I leave
Go ahead.
also so that I can start on a different topic.
Fine.
Thank you. Okay, let's just use that indulgence that I got from the chair to finish the thought. You've dealt with that deadline versus quality. And now the third leg of my question had to do with governance.
Yeah.
And just to save the time of the chair so that I don't do it in two steps.
Yeah.
I want you to just give you a final comment before we take a break on what emphasis, if any, there was on issues of governance.
Yeah.
At the same time. So there was quality, there was quality, the deadline, but what about governance? Because that's also an important thing. We don't want, when I say we now, I'm talking as a citizen. Yeah. We don't want you to meet your deadlines and have good quality, but breach the PFMA, or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what emphasis, if any, was there on governance and the achievement of the clean audits, which is a purely governance issue?
Yeah. We say we are the custodian of good governance and we must practice it as the public protector. So if there is non-compliance with the regulatory framework, then we will miss the governance issues. And how do we not achieve a clean audit while we want other state institutions to achieve it? So a clean audit is not only about irregular tenders and whatever, it's everything. Your leave management, your contract management, everything that has to do with good governance is in there. So if we don't have those deadlines, we don't have those service standards that people must comply with, then you won't have a good governance outcome that is positive. Even our investigation plans, they are talking to good governance because it's more of compliance to issues that needs to be complied. So the auditors don't only audit one aspect of the office, they audit everything. That's why we get a clean audit, meaning that our standards are working and we can have evidence on that. So it was more emphasis on both the core and the business. The business has where you have got your HR, you've got your strategic planning, your facilities. So it was a combination of the two. So you can't win one and lose the other one. It has to be a combination of the two. So the emphasis is on saying we're forced to meet the deadlines. It's only reflecting on the core, but it's not reflecting on the other support where there is issues of audit. Okay, sorry, and at the risk of breaching my deadline with the chair, just the one last aspect on that, and it's just I just wanted to explain this here because again, so to the layperson, they think auditing is just about the money and so on. So from what you're saying, the
when you're saying when you're audited, you're auditing even the numerical issues.
Correct.
Can you just expand on that quickly?
It's called non-financial.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, when the auditors come, especially on the core,
Mhm,
they'll request a sample of files
mhm.
to audit those files. So they'll be checking what have we done in terms of our own standards, our own deadlines that we put in there, whether the investigation plan was signed by the investigator as well as the chief investigator, whether the investigator is following the investigation diary, all those things. So those are non-financial things that the auditors look into.
Indicators.
Yes, yes.
Thank
So it's the whole thing.
Thank you, Chair.
Yeah.
Thank you. We take a tea break. Mr. Lamola,
Okay.
we're back in 15 minutes. Thank you.
Recording